I never believed in love stories that begin after marriage. I thought love was something that bloomed before vows were exchanged, in whispers, glances, and stolen moments. But life had a different plan for me. My love story didn't start with butterflies and dates. It started with a signature on a marriage certificate and a man I barely knew. My name is Elena, and this is how I fell in love with my husband. Not before marriage, but after it. When my parents told me about Ethan, I didn't react much. I was 24, focused on my career, and honestly not ready for marriage. But Ethan was my father's business partner's son, polite, responsible, and everything a family could dream of. I didn't say yes out of love. I said yes out of obedience. Our wedding was simple, elegant, and hollow for me. I smiled for photos, wore the dress everyone adored, but inside, I was terrified. Ethan looked calm, confident, even gentle, but I didn't know him. He didn't know me either. After the ceremony, he whispered, "I know this isn't easy for you, but I'll do everything I can to make you comfortable." That was the first thing he said as my husband. The first few weeks were awkward. We shared the same house, the same table, but not the same heart. Ethan would try to talk. I would answer politely but coldly. He noticed it but never complained. He would bring me coffee every morning, remembering exactly how I liked it. Strong, with 1 sugar. He would wait for me to finish my late-night work just to ask if I needed anything. Small things, gentle gestures, things I didn't ask for, but began to notice. One evening it rained heavily. The sound of thunder made me flinch, and Ethan noticed. He smiled softly and said, "You don't like rain?" "I used to," I said quietly, before it started reminding me of things I'd rather forget. He didn't ask more. Instead, he opened the balcony door and said, "Sometimes facing the rain helps." He walked out, letting the drops soak him. I watched from inside, a strange ache stirring in my chest. After that day, something began to change. He started sharing stories about his life, his childhood, his dreams of traveling, his love for old books. I started listening, really listening. His voice had a calmness that drew me in. For the first time, I saw the man behind the polite smiles, a man who cared deeply, who believed in kindness over pride, who never raised his voice, no matter how stubborn I got. One night, while watching a movie together, our hands accidentally brushed. I pulled mine back immediately, flustered. He noticed, smiled, and said softly, "You don't have to be scared of me, Elena." His voice was low, sincere, and something about it broke the wall I had built around myself. From that night, our silence turned into conversations, long, meaningful ones. We talked about everything, from childhood dreams to our fears of the future. I found myself laughing again, feeling lighter. Ethan never forced love. He created space for it to grow naturally. Then one evening, I came home from work completely exhausted. Ethan had cooked dinner, not ordered it, cooked it. The table was set with candles and soft music playing in the background. "Just thought you might need a quiet night," he said. That night, while eating together, I realized I didn't want the night to end. I wanted to sit there with him forever. A week later, I got sick with a bad fever. I remember waking up at night and finding him sitting beside me, holding my hand, whispering, "You're not alone, Elena." I wanted to tell him something then, something my heart had started screaming, but I didn't have the courage. When I got better, I decided to do something for him. I baked a small cake, horribly uneven, slightly burnt, but made with effort. I placed it on the table with a note that said, "Thank you for everything." When he came home and saw it, he laughed, not mockingly, but with genuine warmth. Then he looked at me, his eyes softer than ever, and said, "You don't have to thank me, Elena." Elena, just stay. That was the first time my heart fluttered. Days passed and love began to bloom in ways neither of us had planned. We'd stay up late talking, go for drives with no destination, and share coffee in silence. The comfortable kind of silence that only exists between two people who are starting to understand each other's souls. Then one night, I asked him, "Did you ever imagine falling in love with someone like me?" He smiled faintly. "Every day since the wedding." I didn't reply. I just stared at him, realizing how blind I had been, how he had loved me quietly while I was still learning what love truly meant. But just when everything started to feel perfect, fate decided to test us. Ethan got a call from his company, a promotion, but it came with a condition. He had to move abroad for at least 2 years. The offer was huge. It was his dream project. But when he told me, I saw hesitation in his eyes. "I won't go if you don't want me to," he said. For a moment, I wanted to say, "Stay," but I couldn't. I knew how much it meant to him. I couldn't be the reason he gave up his dreams. I said, "You should go. It's your dream, Ethan." He cupped my face gently. "I am your dream, Elena." I broke down then, tears streaming, my heart aching. "Then go chase it. For me." That night when he held me, I realized love isn't just about being together. It's about letting someone fly, even if it means standing alone. When he left for the airport a week later, I hugged him tighter than ever before. He whispered, "I'll come back to you, Elena, no matter what." And as he disappeared into the crowd, I knew my love story had only just begun. When Ethan left, the house felt painfully silent. Every corner carried his memory, his laughter echoing faintly through the walls, the smell of his cologne lingering on the couch, the warmth of his touch fading slowly from my hands. For the first time since our marriage, I realized how much I had grown used to his presence. The mornings were the hardest. I'd still wake up expecting to see his side of the bed occupied, his soft breathing beside me. But all I found was emptiness and cold sheets. I missed his good morning notes, the sound of his coffee mug against mine, the quiet comfort of knowing he was there. We'd talk every day in the beginning. Long video calls, texts that never ended, late-night laughter through screens. He would tell me about his new office, how different everything felt, how he missed home, and I would pretend to be strong, even though I was crumbling inside. "Do you miss me?" he once asked during a call, his tone playful but his eyes searching for truth. "Every second," I whispered. He smiled faintly. "Then that's enough to keep me going." But time has a cruel way of testing love. Months passed, and the distance began to weigh heavy. His work got busier. My career demands grew too. Calls turned shorter, messages delayed. Sometimes I'd wait hours for a simple reply that never came. I understood, but understanding didn't make it hurt any less. One evening after a particularly long day at work, I sat in our living room, the lights dim, the clock ticking too loudly. I opened my phone to see our old messages, reading them like prayers.
"Got caught up again. Can we talk tomorrow?" I stared at the screen for a long time. Tomorrow. It always seemed to be tomorrow. Weeks went by like that. I never complained, never accused him. I knew he was working hard, but my heart ached for the man who used to make time even in chaos. One night, I received a call from his colleague, a woman named Sophia. She told me Ethan had fainted at the office from exhaustion. My world stopped. I tried calling him, but he didn't answer. I spent the whole night praying, crying, blaming myself. The next day, he finally called. His voice was weak, but steady. "I'm fine now, Elena. Just overworked, don't worry." Overworked? I snapped, my voice trembling. You're killing yourself, Ethan. He went silent. Then softly said, I'm doing this for us. That broke me. Love wasn't supposed to hurt like this. It was supposed to make life easier, not lonelier. After that day, I made a decision. I started saving money quietly, taking extra projects, planning something I hadn't even told him about yet. 3 months later, I boarded a plane to surprise him. It was reckless, maybe even foolish, but love made me brave. When I reached his apartment, my heart was pounding. I knocked on the door, and when he opened it, the shock on his face was priceless. For a second, he just stared, speechless. Then he pulled me into arms with such intensity that I could barely breathe. Elena, he whispered into my hair, you came. I told you, I smiled through tears. I'd always find my way back to you. The days that followed were like a dream. We cooked together, explored the city, watched sunsets from his tiny balcony. It felt like we were falling in love all over again, only this time it was deeper, stronger, unbreakable. But love, no matter how strong, never comes without sacrifices. One night, while having dinner, he told me about a new opportunity, a massive promotion that could secure our future completely. But it required him to travel constantly, leaving no time for family life. I stared at him, silent. So you're saying we'd barely see each other? He nodded, eyes down. Just for a few years. After that, things will settle. My heart clenched. And what if those years change us, Ethan? What if we grow apart again? He reached for my hand. Then I'll fight harder. But I can't turn this down, Elena. It's everything I've worked for. That night, I couldn't sleep. I went to the balcony, watching the city lights shimmer below. I thought about our journey, from strangers to soulmates, and how love had always demanded something from us. Maybe this was another test. Maybe real love wasn't about holding on tightly, but knowing when to let go for the other's dreams. When morning came, I told him, take it. He looked at me, surprised. You're sure? I nodded, even though my heart screamed no. You once said you're doing all this for us. So I'll wait, no matter how long it takes. He pulled me close, his voice trembling. I don't deserve you. I smiled weakly. You do. You always have. I stayed with him for another week before returning home. Every moment we spent together was a goodbye in disguise, soft, aching, but full of love. When I left, he kissed my forehead and whispered, You are my home, Elena, no matter where I go. Back home, I threw myself into life again, working, helping others, writing letters I never sent. Some nights, I'd sit on our bed, whispering his name into the dark, hoping the wind would carry it across oceans. 2 years passed. 2 long, silent years. Our calls were rare, but every time his voice reached me, it still felt like sunlight breaking through clouds. Then one evening, I received a message. I'm coming home. My heart stopped. It had been so long, so painfully long that I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. I stood in front of the mirror, staring at myself, realizing how much time had changed me. I was stronger now, more patient, more understanding of what love truly meant. The night he arrived, I waited by the airport gate, trembling. And when he finally walked out, tired, smiling, eyes filled with everything words couldn't say, I ran to him. He dropped his bags, caught me mid-run, and held me tighter than ever before. Neither of us spoke for a long time. We didn't need to. The silence between us was full of everything we had endured. Distance, sacrifice, longing, and love that had survived it all. He kissed my forehead and whispered, I told you I'd come back. I smiled through tears, and I'd told you I'd wait.
When Ethan came back home, it felt like time had folded into itself, like the 2 years apart had vanished into a heartbeat. But as much as I wanted to believe everything would instantly return to how it was, I knew it wouldn't be that simple. He had changed, and so had I. His eyes carried stories of exhaustion and success, but also loneliness. Mine carried patience and silent strength. When he looked at me that first night back, it wasn't just with love, it was with gratitude, guilt, and a kind of reverence that made my heart ache. We sat together on the couch, his hand brushing against mine. Neither of us spoke for a long while. The silence between us wasn't empty this time. It was heavy with everything we wanted to say but didn't know how. Finally, he broke it. "Elena, I don't know how to thank you for waiting." I smiled faintly. "Love doesn't keep score, Ethan. It just waits when it needs to." He leaned forward, taking my hand in his. "I missed everything about you. Your voice, your coffee, even the way you get lost in your thoughts. I missed us." I felt tears prick my eyes. "Then let's not lose us again." That night, he held me like he never wanted to let go. It wasn't a passionate embrace, it was something deeper, something sacred. His arms around me felt like home, and for the first time in years, I slept without that hollow ache inside me. The next few weeks were like rediscovering a forgotten melody. We fell back into rhythm slowly, cooking breakfast together, watching late-night movies, taking long walks just to talk about nothing and everything. But I could see it in his eyes. He was struggling, not with love, but with guilt. One evening, as we sat on the balcony watching the sunset, I asked softly, "What's bothering you?" He hesitated. "When I was away, there were days I thought I'd lost you, days I thought you deserved someone who could actually be there for you, and that thought killed me." I looked at him, my chest tightening. "Ethan, love isn't about perfection. It's about endurance. I waited because I believed in us, even when it hurt." He looked at me like I was something he didn't think he deserved. How did I get so lucky? I smiled through tears. Maybe love isn't luck. Maybe it's a choice we keep making, even when it's hard. After that night, he started changing little things. He spent more time at home, cut back on work trips, learned to live in the present instead of chasing the future. And I learned to let go of fear of losing him again, fear of love fading. One day, he surprised me with a small box wrapped in silver paper. I opened it and found a simple locket. Inside was a tiny picture of the two of us from our wedding day. On the back, he had engraved, "Worth every distance." I looked up at him, my heart swelling. "Ethan!" He smiled gently. "I wanted you to have something that reminds you that no matter how far I go, I'll always find my way back to you." It was in that moment I realized love wasn't about grand gestures or dramatic promises. It was about the quiet, consistent effort to stay connected even when life tried to pull you apart. A few months later, we decided to take a short trip to the countryside. It was spring. The world smelled like new beginnings. We drove for hours, music playing softly, his hand intertwined with mine. When we arrived, the hills stretched endlessly, bathed in golden sunlight. That evening, as we watched the sun dip below the horizon, he turned to me and said, "You know, I used to think love was something that happened before marriage, that spark people always talk about. But now I know the real kind happens after. It's built through patience, forgiveness, and choosing the same person even after you've seen their worst days." I leaned against his shoulder, whispering, "That's the only kind worth having." He smiled, pressing a kiss to my forehead. "Then I'm the luckiest man alive." That night, as we sat by the fire, the flames reflecting in his eyes, I thought about everything we had endured. The awkward beginnings, the long distance, the endless waiting, and the silent prayers. Every tear, every lonely night, every moment of uncertainty had led us here, to this peace, this warmth, this unbreakable bond. He reached for my hand and said softly, "If I could go back, I'd still marry you the same way, even if it meant waiting a lifetime to earn your love." Tears rolled down my cheeks as I whispered, "And I'd still choose you, even if I had to lose you first to realize it." We sat in silence, surrounded by the quiet symphony of nature, the wind, the crackle of fire, the heartbeat of two souls that had finally found their way home. In that moment, I understood something I never had before. Love isn't a fairy tale. It's not perfect or easy. It's a journey of growth, sacrifice, and choosing to stay when leaving might be simpler. And as he pulled me close, his heartbeat steady beneath my ear, I knew that every sacrifice, every lonely night, and every tear had been worth it, because it all led to this moment. Our story wasn't about falling in love. It was about learning how to love. Truly, deeply, endlessly. After the vows, after the distance, after everything. When we drove back home the next day, he reached across the seat, lacing his fingers with mine. The sunlight poured through the windshield, bathing us in gold. He asked, smiling, "Ready to start a new chapter?" I looked at him, my heart full. We already have. And that's how love found its forever. Not in perfection, but in persistence.